Hi, I'm Paul Friedman. I founded the Marriage Foundation. First of all, I think that porn is very demeaning, especially to the women who engage in it. So this isn't about the women who engage in porn. It's about the men who engage in porn. So if your husband, if you're the woman, if your husband is engaged in porn, it may not be a sign at all that he is straying, that he wants to stray, that he wants to move out of the relationship. And it's important that you don't start by taking it personally. It's better if you start by developing an understanding around why men are attracted to porn. And if you're a man watching this, it's also important for you to understand why you're attracted to porn. So we're going to approach it from that perspective of why men are attracted to porn. And in order to really do that, we have to take a look at how men and women are very different. And for a man, all this will be yeah. For a woman, many of you will go, I didn't know that. So there's two genders, contrary to popular PCism. There are two genders. There's the male and the female. You know, nature is quite good at doing that. Occasionally, of course, there's two, but you know, we're not going there. We're not going into the less than 0.1% area. There's two genders, the male and the female. And human beings are very, very different than animals. We have animal bodies, but when it comes to who we are, how we self-identify, we are not our body. We're not. So you could say, I am a man, / I am a woman, but it's not accurate. What is accurate is I am a soul. That's accurate. We are souls. We're human beings. We're very special. We're not the same as animals. We're not advanced animals. We're souls. We inhabit an animal body. In between the body and the soul is the mind. So it looks something like this. Here is the mind. Here is the body. But here is you. You're the soul. And believe it or not, you are riding around in the mind, sort of like a driver driving a vehicle, but at the same time you encompass your body. Let's spell that out here. Your body and your mind. You encompass these things. So you're a soul. But what happens when you get into the gender, either male or female, is that your mind is being impacted by your body. So in the case of a man, you have a male body, and the male body is designed by nature to protect the female so that the female can raise its children, and being very clinical here, can raise its children without having to carry a sword or a spear. This is sort of nature's design. And the female body is very unique. It's very special in that it carries offspring and it designates the mother, which the male body cannot become a mother. It designates the mother as the unconditional lover of that child. Why? Because otherwise, and this will be hard to imagine, Otherwise, that child can be considered a tremendous burden. And if you've had children, you know what I'm talking about. From a practical point of view, children are a burden. And so nature gave mother something very, very special. And that is a connection to her soul, which is unimpeded, so that her heart's love can be converted into this unconditional love. Actively. A man doesn't have that. A man doesn't have that. If a man wants to feel unconditional love, and a man can feel unconditional love, he has to work at it. He has to develop it. And it's very, very intense for a man to do so. And generally, and you see this in these extreme religions where men are trying to, but they do it in a foul way, a false way, and they become fanatics instead of lovers. But the ones who do it are the lovers, you know, like the Gandhis, the Christ, Moses, Buddha, Jesus, and there's lots of them we don't hear about. So men can do it. They can connect to their heart. But women are naturally connected to their heart. So what does this have to do with porn? So similarly, in this gender division, a woman is tied to her body biologically for the purpose of having a child. And so she opens up her heart, mind, and soul to her husband for this biological purpose. Now, when you want to, as a human being, you have that power because you have free will. When you want to use this sex act for the purpose of growing your love, you can and you should. It's its dual purpose. Its biological purpose is to have children. But the other purpose, the more valuable purpose, believe it or not, it's even more valuable, is to learn to open your heart to your husband. Now, the man is locked in to his role, again biologically, as a defender. He doesn't have this connection to his heart that his wife has. If you're a man, you know what I'm talking about. And a man recognizes intimacy as the sex act, where a woman is more easily able to expand this definition of a sex act. But for a man, it's a sex act. For him, that's intimacy. Okay, so is this all making sense? We're going to get there as to the porn thing, but you need to understand this, really understand this, so it makes sense to you, not because I've said, well, here's what it means and here's what this is, but so you can see what's coming. So a man is tied to the sex act primarily to act as a servant to the woman's need to reproduce. And he has this drive. And this biological drive is there 24/7. 24/7, 365 days a year, except for leap year, then it's 366, because it's part of his body. This is a biological drive. Unless you're outside of your body, or unless this drive has been pushed down by physiological ailments or drugs or whatever, it's there, baby. It's there. Now, in a home, in a marriage, what a man is supposed to do is transmute that energy, because it's energetic. He's supposed to transmute that energy into creative releases. So he's creating a better home, creating better wealth, creating art. He's supposed to transmute it, but no one has ever taught him that. We're not taught that. We may be taught that indirectly, but nobody knows why and how. And this is the why and how. That energy isn't going away. It's there. So a woman is only receptive to having sex biologically when her eggs are ready to be fertilized. If the man wasn't ready 24/7, nature would have a tough time of getting more children, because she may say, I'm in the mood now, and he may say, I'm not. So that's how this works. He is in the mood all the time because it's how he's biologically designed. And it has to be, or there would be no more human beings. So what happens to him? What happens to the good man who goes, oh man, I am so, and I'm going to use the word, I am so horny, I can't stand, I'm going out of my skin, and my wife does not want to have sex. It doesn't matter why. I'm being driven by my body. He doesn't know that, but he is. I'm being driven by my body to have sex now, and she's got her own thing going. Now, a good man who uses porn, because it is totally possible, will use it as a release only, in order to maintain his marriage in a positive way, without burdening his wife with his problem of this drive to have sex when she is not interested. Now, a good woman will make sure that he is taken care of in this way when she's able to, even when she, quote unquote, doesn't want to. Out of love. I love my husband. I don't want him to suffer. I don't want him to have to need to find an outlet. So everyone knows, even though it's not true, that everyone masturbates. It's not true. Everyone doesn't masturbate. But this is a common way of releasing, and for a man, the visually stimulating part of porn helps him masturbate so he could release this energy that is piled up in physical form so that he doesn't become a burden. So that's porn being used by a man in a good way. Unfortunately, what happens is a man will then be enticed, because you don't just go on a porn site and see porn. You go on a porn site and see advertisements for hooking up. And he'll be tempted because he's male. And it's appealing to this lower place in him. Now, the men who go there, they don't all go there. We don't know how many. Studies are useless. It doesn't matter. You're only dealing with yourself or with your husband. Now, if you're a husband and you're using porn in this way, discretion is the better part of valor. Be very careful. Don't take advantage of those advertisements. Don't go there. Understand, you just got to get that release, and go back. Now, better than getting that release, because I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm just telling you what's available to you. You have to judge. Better is to pick up a great book on something and study it, or learn how to build something, or study poetry if that is your thing. But this is energy. You have free will. You get to choose where that energy goes. But you don't want it to turn into things that will potentially end your marriage. And this is where porn gets dangerous. Porn gets dangerous in that it's sort of like pot. It's a gateway. It's a gateway to self-exploitation that can damage your marriage, which is the last thing you want to do. So, ladies, understand, if that's the level of porn going on, just look away. Don't notice. Think of it as your husband spitting on the ground. Don't take it personally. It isn't about you. Don't condemn your husband. His intentions may be extremely honorable, but this is the only thing he is capable of doing. You're not perfect either. So that's what porn is really all about. It's about a man utilizing a stimulant, a visual stimulant, to help him get a release that is overshadowing everything else in his mind, which is what it does. It's a very pervasive and intense and aggressive feeling that attacks the man. If you know your husband is doing it, if you're the wife, then do your best to be there for your husband sexually, turning the sexuality into love, which only you can do. He can't do it. And things will taper down. And don't be condemning him. Don't be critical of him. Love him. Men, if this has not become a problem, be discreet. Now, ladies, what if it grows? What if it turns into something that becomes a marriage killer? That's something altogether different. If it's reached that point of where your husband is now sexting, of where he's now on hookup sites, and he's starting to fantasize about getting out of your marriage with one foot, you need to take action. You need to take action to reconstruct your marriage. It's on you, not on your husband, to reconstruct your marriage as you are participating in your marriage so that your husband would never, ever consider leaving you or straying. And even though he's made vows not to, we know in this world people break their vows all the time. So we have to be practical and not mean. Okay. So hopefully this will help you. If you found it helpful, I know it's complex, more complex than I thought it was going to be when I started this. But I wanted you to really understand it. So if it's helpful, go ahead and like it. If you go, well, I disagree, let me know. Let's have a discussion. But don't hit me with blanket sayings like, oh, you know, you just support men. I don't just support men. I also support women. I support both. I support marriages. But what I really do is I want you to understand the dynamics that are involved, and you make your own choices. But let me know. I don't have a problem with discussions. Share it with your friends, even if you think this is controversial. I don't mind being controversial. It used to be controversial that the world was round. All I'm doing is sharing scientific, known information. But I truly hope that this benefits you, because my main goal is for you to have the happiest marriage possible. A marriage, by definition, is joyous. Yeah, and that's where I want you to be. So that's it for today, and thank you very much for tuning in.